You're opening the door right here. You know this is going to make news by opening this door. Yes. So let's talk about potential, since the door is now, or the window is cracked here a little bit. Who has taken over as the best pound-for-pound fighter in your estimation?
Roman Gonzalez. Chocolatito. Roman Gonzalez. Unbelievable. Good puncher, good boxer. A very good fighter.
Lastimó demasiado ese golpe. Ahora Yutaka está a punto
siga,
ya.
Chocolate, siga.
Hace de cuenta que estás en la esquina de Chocolate ahorita. A ver.
Bueno, es que está desarrollando un ritmo muy bueno Chocolate y eso se lo...
¡Lo rajó! Está cortado Yutaka Nida en el rostro. Está cortado en la ceja izquierda y sigue la demolición.
Sigue las combinaciones de Chocolatito.
Está sangrando de la nariz, está sangrando de la ceja, lo está triturando, sí, Alexis, ya le cerró el ojo.
Completamente.
Está llamando al médico del ring. Le cerró el ojo y está sangrando de la nariz. Le cerró el ojo izquierdo y está sangrando de la nariz.
El dominio de Chocolatito es indescriptible.
Vamos a ver si se acaba. Vamos a ver si se acaba. Chocolate pendiente. ¡Se acabó! ¡Se acabó! ¡Se acabó! ¡Ganó Chocolate! ¡Ganó Chocolate! ¡Nuevo campeón mundial!
Nuevo campeón mundial.
En 3 rounds y medio.
It's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is another classic fight review because recently I feel like I've fallen into a pattern of getting caught up in all the stuff going on in boxing. Sometimes I can get a little bit out of pocket sometimes, but most of the time I'm telling the truth and I'm being honest and I'm shooting it straight from the hip. But it's really taken away from one of the things that I've wanted to really do on this channel a lot more of over the years, because I do watch a lot of boxing. I wouldn't say I know the most about boxing because there's always someone that knows more than you, but I do my research and I do watch fights, and I am someone who's a student of the game and always likes to learn about the fights. So, we started this series in the last video with Salvador Sanchez versus Danny Lopez 1. This fight is a fight I'm a lot more familiar with because it pertains to my favorite fighter in the history of the sport, and that guy is the guy that we refer to on this channel as the real TBE, Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito. I want to start talking more about some key fights in his career so people can know why I say the things that I say about him. They don't want to. I can only say he's the best, or I can only say that what I think about him for so long. At some point, I gotta make videos about fights that led me to believe he is what he became in boxing and what he's still becoming, because his career is not even over yet. There's still a couple fights left before he hangs it up for good. But in this video, we're gonna talk about Chocolatito's first world title win. His first world title he ever captured. Now, he's been at the world championship level in boxing for 14 years. His first world title he won was in 2008 against Yutaka Nida. So 14 years at that level, accomplishing what he's accomplished. Not many guys have been at that level for as long as Chocolatito. But about this fight, this was a very interesting fight because at this particular time, Chocolatito was a young fighter. He was a fighter in the minimum weight division, 105 pounds. And for people who have only seen the Chocolatito that fought on HBO and the one now that's fighting on DAZN, what you must understand is the guy Chocolatito was at 105 and 108 in particular, that guy was like Mike Tyson. I mean, he was like a heavyweight. He was a heavyweight type of puncher, a knockout artist at the highest level. Now, mind you, he's still very great at 115, but if you've only seen Chocolatito over the last couple of years at 115 and things like that, you've actually seen the worst version of him, which actually shows you how great of a fighter he is. When he fought Chocolatito was 21 years old. So very, very, very young, very wet behind the ears. At that time, he only had 20 professional fights. He was 20-0 with 18 knockouts going into the fight, taking on a very, very formidable champion in Yutaka Nida. Yutaka Nida was 23. He was 23-1 with 3 draws, 9 KOs. Not the biggest puncher, but I think a lot of people who haven't really done the due diligence don't know how good of a champion Nida was. I mean, Nida had proven for a long time that he was the creme de la creme of that minimum weight division. We look at where his ranking position was. He was a consistent, top 2 ranked fighter at 105. He was ranked number 1 in 2004. He was ranked number 1 in 2005. He ranked number 2 in 2006, but that was only because there was an all-time great little man in that division named Ivan Calderon, pound-for-pound fighter, one of the best fighters Puerto Rico's produced, not just in the modern era, but in the whole history of the country. He was number 1 for that 1 year, and then Nita was number 1 again in 2007. So to even be in the same league or the same bracket as Ivan Calderon, it really goes to show you just just how great he is. Nita had made 7 defenses of the title coming into the fight. The most notable name on his record of all the other guys he beat and defended the belt against was probably Kasanori Takayama. For those of you who watched the Canelo Saunders undercard, you may remember Takayama fought Elwin Soto. And mind you, that this was a much, much older Takayama coming off of inactivity, fighting a bigger man in a weight class he didn't really campaign in. But Takayama at 105, for the most of his career, great fighter. He's won every belt. He's never been undisputed, but he's had every belt in the weight class except I think the WBA. I don't remember which belt it was, but he's had each belt twice, 3 of the 4 belts twice, and he's been one of the best and most consistent performers in that weight class for a long time. So good win for Nita there. Chocolatito at that time, if you go and you look at him, right, he hadn't really fought outside of Nicaragua. Nobody knew who he was. He was probably making $100 or $800 or maybe $2,000 or $3,000 a fight. He wasn't making a whole lot as far as money. So you could look at it and say, going into that fight, he was untested. He wasn't a guy that really had proven himself. You know what I'm saying? And he had only gone the distance once. So that's the stage. I'm setting the stage for the fight, right? So he fights Nita, and this was a fight where Chocolatito instantly became someone that you could look out for, because the fight wasn't very long. Chocolatito stopped Nita in 4 rounds, which at that time, you guys got to understand, Nita had a loss in his career, but he'd never been stopped. So to stop Nita and then to stop him in 4 rounds, you had to really, really be something special. This is a fight where Chocolatito started to show some of the things that we know him for today. Backing up his opponent with that intelligent pressure, shifting the weight on the balls of his feet, to go to the body. He boxed very intelligently behind the jab in this fight. Nita was game in the first round. But the footwork and the pressure from Chocolatito, and the beautifully placed punches were something to really, really behold. Now you guys gotta remember, this is at 105, so this is Chocolatito in most cases being bigger than most fighters. So in this weight class, he was really, when he punched you in this weight class, you really, really felt it. And I would highly advise anybody who's never watched Chocolatito's fights at 105 or 108 to go watch those fights. You can watch this fight. You can watch the Takayama fight. That, to me, was the best Chocolatito, which is the crazy thing. Chocolatito is such a great fighter that if we're, in America, most people have only seen Chocolatito's career as he was we caught the tail end of his prime, and now we're seeing the end, the worst version of himself, and he's still, arguably the number 1 fighter in his weight class today at 115, But this is a fight where both men, both Nita and both Chocolatito, they both let the leather fly. They both were able to really, just get that punch output up there. But unfortunate thing was Nita just didn't have an answer for the footwork, and as Chocolatito began to pick up the pressure round by round by round by round, it was just too much. It was too much, and you had a guy in Nita who had been a very good, dignified champion, a guy that, against the landscape of that division, he stood out. He was a top guy. But when we talk about Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, aka the real TBE, you know, this is a guy that's a once in a lifetime, generational type talent. And when you get a guy who's just a very good champion versus a generational talent, it's a massive, massive gap in class. And that's what it was. But Nita had nothing to be ashamed of. Like I said, Nita was a dignified champion in his time in the sport. I think people don't really understand how great that win was. And Chocolatito became a world champion at 21 years old. I want people to understand that Chocolatito became 21. He became a world champion at 21 years old against a guy who had made 7 defenses of his title, and was the best fighter in that weight class, because they fought in what? They fought in 08. So in 2008. So if we look at Nita had been what? He had been number 1 at minimum weight for 04, 05, and 07. You know, so we're looking at Nita being a guy that had consistently been number 1 for like 4 out of the last 5 years, you know, and nobody had beaten him like that. Nobody stopped him. He never fought again after this fight. Chocolatito at 105, he was the kind of guy that if you fought him and you weren't all-time great, you know, he put you in a body bag, you know, and that's what he did with Nita. But this was the start of what was a glorious career for Roman Gonzalez, and I think this was one of the fights that, when I think of why he's so great, I think of this fight right here. And then I also think about his fight with Kasunori Takayama, which I will do another video about. But for this video, we just want to talk about Nita, because Roman Gonzalez, he came from nowhere. He wasn't really known outside of Nicaragua. Had only gone the distance twice in his career. Had never fought any opposition close to a guy like a Yutaka Nita, you know. The only guy he fought was what's the guy's name? Look it up. I think it was like Masamushi Yamoto or something like that. There was a guy from Japan who fought Chocolatito once before the Nita fight, and he took him the distance. What was the guy's name? Hiroshi Matsumoto. So he had fought Hiroshi Matsumoto in his first and only fight in Japan before the Nita fight. He went the full 10-round distance. Chocolatito won easily, but that was really the only good experience he had. If you go look at his box rec, if you go look at what Chocolatito was doing before the Yutaka Nita fight, you know, he wasn't even getting rounds. He was like pro debut, 2nd round knockout, then 2 straight knockouts. Like, he was knocking pretty much everybody out in 7 rounds or less until he fought Hiroshi Matsumoto, which was his biggest test at that point. Then he went the distance with Javier Murillo. Okay, so he went the distance twice. 2 out of his last 3 fights going into 2 out of his last 4 fights going into the Yutaka Nita fight. So there would not have been that concern that maybe he couldn't handle the step up in class. But when the lights came on and it mattered the most, Chocolatito at 21 years old beat up and destroyed and retired the most proven champion in that weight class, you know, apart from Ivan Calderon. And that to me was one of the fights that launched his great career. So yeah, go watch it if you haven't. Chocolatito Gonzalez, Roman Gonzalez versus Yutaka Nita, his first fight for the WBA World Minimum Weight title. So leave your comments down below. If you're a Chocolatito nerd like me and you've enjoyed his career and you've seen this fight before, if you have any observations, things that I may have missed, or you want to add it down below in the comments. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.
Thank you for watching another video on True School Sports, the home of boxing. If you made it this far, do me a favor and do yourself a damn favor. Hit that subscribe button and surely you will not be disappointed. You know, True School Sports bringing you the latest and greatest, the untouchable, you know, boxing content, interviews, news videos, breakdowns, live fight reaction extravaganza. We've got a great community of people here, boxing fans all over the world, from America to the UK to Australia, and on and on and on. So join the empire today. Hit that subscribe button. Take care and God.